actually get into or on the radar, so to speak, and that's when it became evident of how important I think a start pick is on the gate here at Loretta Lynn's. I mean, this is a rather unique start in of it itself anyway, with the big sweeping right-hand turn there, and it creates a lot of excitement heading into it, a lot of speed. We got it going on once again, and wow, look at that, man. A couple of guys coming out, looks like no problems whatsoever. Good and clean. A little bit of carnage in the back of the pack, a little behind them. Tough break there for the 26. But the 450B limited hole shot, the Bell Helmets hole shot award goes to Josh Moseman, the number 52 KTM rider out of Sebastopol, California. And looks like he's already taken point here as we head through the Cometic Gaskets corner into that GoPro 10 Commandments. But already challenges being set, Jason Wagner.
Wow, this is going to be a battle right now. I believe that's Joaquin Falden on the number 17 Kawasaki. They're into those 10 Commandments. Look at all the sand that's been put down on this track early in the week. Good battling in this class. So Moseman had that whole shot, had to give it up. But watch out for the Yamaha man here on the 83.
Lorenzo Lucercio there out of Cairo, Georgia, on the Lucercio Racing Team MTF1 Industries factory connection back to Yamaha. Looks like he's got a good drive going on early here as well, Jason.
Well, we mentioned him in the C classes last year. Was very quick. Obviously has figured this thing out with a year of experience now under his belt at the ranch, and he's riding for the MTF people, trying to make this happen. It has actually the 11 out front out of Kingsport, Tennessee. That's Logan McConnell. Got the lead from Moseman early here on lap 1, but he's got pressure from Lucercio. Backed by Jamie McCoy, G-Force Racing Technologies, and Jim's Motorcycle. Ah, yes, the veteran bike shop sponsor of Mike Brown out of Tennessee, and Logan McConnell out of Kingsport, Tennessee, trying to make him proud. But here comes Lucercio around the outside of the beach.
Wow, Lucercio trying to rail the outside of that one, and we can see this track is already taking a very distinct race face out there, and I expect to see it continually change all day long as the lines will switch up, and Lucercio trying to switch it up as well and take over the point in the lead, and it's exactly what he does as the new leader now makes his way down front of the billboard here at Loretta Lynn's. It is McConnell now in second, Benny Bloss, the number 33, not far behind in third spot, the 52 of Moseman, who got the whole shot, drops back to fourth. Chase Marquier, the 41, in fifth. Tanner Berry, the 65, he's sixth. Andy Koss, the 31, is seventh. Joaquin Falden, the 17, is 8th. Daniel Mills, the 25, and 9th. Maxwell Murphy rounds out your top 10 aboard the 74 as we kick this one off here in the top 10 of 42. And again, it's the 42 best riders in the nation making their way around right now, being led by that guy right there, Lorenzo Lucercio. And it looks like our front two, Logan McConnell and Lucercio, are about to stretch this out. But I don't think Benny Bloss is going to let him get too far ahead, it doesn't appear right now. He's right there with McConnell, it looks like.
Back into what we call Storyland. Only a few people hanging out back at this part of the track to see what's going on. They're near some of the far camping areas, Area 3, for example. And now they're going to work their way back toward the front of the track where the grandstands are. And they're going to see McConnell's trying those best in the number 2 spot of that 11 to keep Lucercio, keep some pressure on him.
Wow, just watching this, looking at this racetrack, Jason, a couple of things come to mind as some yellow flags come out. The idea of beautiful sunshiny weather, beautiful blue skies, and it's coupled with a great race right here. It looks like Lucercio is already feeling, or is that Bloss?
I guess Bloss trying to make the move.
On McConnell right there for the number 2 spot. There's Lucercio untouched. He's already starting to stretch things out. So here comes the battle for second now. And it looks like Bloss has made the pass and got his sights set on your leader now, Lucercio. But it doesn't appear either that McConnell's wanting to give up this second place position nearly as easily as he gave up the first place battle.
So Benny Bloss. Benny has the Jets on as he takes over the number 2 spot. So it's Yamaha's 1-2. Let's see if Bloss can do something with Lucercio. He's got that lead.
Fastest lap time so far, we're seeing turn to 157.297. That was Lucercio there on that second lap of racing as we catch him going down around the infamous billboards here at Loretta Lynn's. And along with that battle for the number 2 spot, which is stretched out. Benny Bloss now got his sights set on Lucercio for the number 1 position. McConnell back in third. Looks like he's going to be having to feel some pressure and possible heat coming up soon from either Josh Moseman or possibly even Chase Marquier, who are only in a combined total about 2.5 seconds behind him right now. And that one right there is starting to tighten up. Tanner Berry back in 6th. Cost is 7th. Joaquin Falden in 8th. Still Henry Miller is 9th. Maxwell Murphy rounds out your top 10. 11 through 20 now. Bradley Lynette Lynette is your 11. Taylor Holt running the 14 is 12. Tanner McCullers is 13th. Talon LaFontaine is 14th. Daniel Mills is 15th. Elijah Rudder in 16th. Tyler Delaney 17th. Keith Mulvaney is 18th. Devin Coolbreath is 19th. And Gavin Wilkins rounds out your top 10. I want to point out something here as far as we were talking about gate picks being very important in this particular realm of racing, especially here at the Amateur National Championship Finals itself. Tanner McCullers got the first hole shot of the day earlier today, and I'm sure he probably drew a little better pick in that moto than what he did in this. And again, the first moto, you got to draw spoons, or actually I guess they're poker chips this year. They're kind of a commemorative thing they get to keep to take home with them, so they get their gate picks, and that is very critical and very crucial. But as always, by the end of these 20-minute plus motos, the cream really starts to rise to the top here, Jason.
Well, we're seeing it happen right now. Bloss in the number 2 spot is now within the shot with Lucercio in the lead, hitting this big sweeper past the beach. And we're going to have a battle on our hands. We'll see the lap time here in just a moment. I've got to imagine that 33 is a little quicker than Lucercio, and they have pulled away from Logan McConnell, who is 3rd, and the rest of the field. So it could be a private battle. Shout out to Bloss. It's backed by Rock River Yamaha, so you know he's one of the elite of the Blue Crew. That's Yamaha's amateur division. Also backed by Truck Central, Smith Goggles, Pro Taper, Answer, Factory Connection, and Works Connection. So he has the factory connection and the Works connection. So you know that bike is dialed in. Factory and Works connection. They're actually, one's a suspension company, one's got some really cool bolt-on parts. And they're working their way to the long short shoot, as we call it, underneath that Red Bull arch.
Well, Jason, 158.620 was Benny Bloss's lap time last time around. 157.297 is the fastest that we've seen so far. And Lucercio actually just holding steady right there around that 157, 158 mark. He's not pushing the envelope none too much and still holding on to just enough of a lead. Will we call that a comfortable lead right now? No, especially here at the amateur finals itself. That is not a very comfortable lead, but you are in the lead, and that's where you need to be to kind of set the pace, set the standard of what's going on in these motos.
There you see Bloss, big, tall kid, just trying to get on deep into the seat, make some of those tight corners in the back. Probably try to make some time up in the fast stuff here. It's your 450B Limited. It's what would have formerly been called 450B Stock, but as always, even the stock classes allow for a few changes to adjust the bike for your style, especially if you're unbelievably tall like Bloss. So with the limited amount of changes they do allow just for rider comfort, they now do call it the limited class instead of the stock class. They're back into view now. We're in the announcer's tower in our Under Armour studios, and we can see these two Yamaha riders trying to duke it out, Lucercio and Bloss.
Well, folks, if you're following along or want to follow along on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, at Loretta Lynn MX and at RacerTV are the two that you want to follow along, and you can hashtag all of your social media with hashtag Loretta Lynn MX and hashtag Loretta's Live, and that way we can keep those all together and keep everybody in the same conversation at the same time. But again, follow us at Loretta Lynn MX and at RacerTV, and hashtag those at hashtag Loretta Lynn MX and hashtag Loretta's Live. As we roll through lap number 5 now, Lorenzo Lucercio continues to lead Benny Bloss. A little change back there now as we were anticipating some change, but wow, look at this. Marquier now up to the number 3 spot, about 5 seconds off the pace. Lap time that he's turning his best of 1:59.148, and that was actually on lap 4 when he made that move past Mosman into that number 3 position. Now Mosman running in the number 4 spot. Andy Kost is in the number 5 spot. Tanner Berry is 6th. Henry Miller 7th. Joachim Falden still back there in the number 8 spot. Bradley Lynette in the number 9 spot. Logan McConnell, the number 11 machine, now has dropped back to the number 10 spot as Maxwell Murphy is 11. Taylor Holt is 12. Daniel Mills 13. Tanner McCullers 14. Talon LaFontaine rounds out the top 15. We're not seeing a lot of passes going on right now, and I don't know whether that's because of the conditions of the track or whether those guys just established themselves like that early on.
Well, I thought Bloss here in the 33 was going to make a run at Lucercio. He got it to within about 1.5 seconds, but your leader on the 83, Lucercio, has pulled it back out. Now it's a 2.3 second gap as they hit the sand wash, we're calling, as they work their way past the Rocky Mountain ATV MC rig off to the side of the track. Now into the twisties.
What I got to say,
still trying to make up ground. Go ahead, Roddy.
Yeah, I was got to say, I was watching back there. I saw over the back shoulder there in one of the shots just a few moments ago, Marquier not really that far back on board the number 41. He's turning about 0.8 of a second faster lap. The thing is, he was 5 seconds plus behind Bloss for that second place position, and Marquier looks like he's got his head down and charging here near the halfway point of this moto, so Bloss could be feeling a little more pressure more quickly than what he anticipates or even expects here in the latter part of this moto, as Chase is definitely laying down the chase right now from the number 3 spot.
Okay, so Chase is chasing Benny, and Lorenzo Lucercio getting away on the number 83.
A little further back, we're watching Andy Coast, the number 31 Yamaha. Looks like he's closing up some gap on Mosman now for that number 4 position. So we got a battle starting to happen, or should be starting to happen there fairly soon. I think one rider we probably might want to watch. He's down now near fastest lap times, 1:59.754. He's all the way back in 6th place right now, Jason. That's the number 30 of Henry Miller. Miller 3.1 seconds back behind Andy Koss there as they wrapped up lap number 5. But again, a 1:59.754 out there in that traffic. You know this kid, if he can get out to the front of the pack, he might be able, with a little bit of free room out there, turn down some pretty fast laps. And even with that being said, if he can make easier work of some of these riders to get around him with that kind of speed out there, then he might become a little bit of a factor. Maybe not necessarily in this moto, but we're going to start seeing this number 30 here of Henry Miller, who's in 6th. He might, in latter motos, in the 2nd and 3rd motos, once he gets better gate pick choices, become a real factor to start factoring into this. But again, actually Miller turned a 1:58.864 on lap 4, a 1:59.754 on his 5th lap. So I mean, he's staying right in there in the same lap times as your leaders up front there, and Lucercio's dropped to the 2-minute range. Benny Bloss is in 2:03 now, but still Chase Marquier 1.7 seconds behind Benny Bloss for the number 2 spot. So we got a battle shaping up, it looks like, for 2nd place as Miller works his way through the pack aboard the number 30. We'll see and keep an eye on him to see what happens there, but it's Bloss and Marquier, the 41, that we want to watch, who's pulled to within now 1.7 seconds and running about 4-second faster lap last time around.
And it is starting to tighten up just a bit in some of those spots. As Lucercio with that 5-second lead, he can back it down just a little bit. We're watching the 30 of Henry Miller. A little bit quicker than the riders in front of him, Kost and Mosiman, as you were talking about. So Miller just trying to salvage something here, trying to get it maybe in the top 5 or potentially in the top 3.
Marquier, man, I don't know if he's slowing, or maybe he's just using that extreme inside of that line, and he's opening up the door is what he's doing. I think maybe a possibility of he might have relaxed a little bit too much on one lap. I know it's hard. Whoa, and look at that. That right there gives you a pretty good indication of what might be happening. That was a big swap out. This track has gotten very, very rough, and the way that bike is bouncing around, you got to wonder if maybe some suspension setup might not be right where it needs to be right now. And that might be why he's not able to ride that edge that he's used to riding, because he slowed his pace down quite a bit. As here comes the 33 now of Bloss back on Marquier, trying to fire back on that. But actually, Marquier moving up through the pack so fast, maybe he just needs to go faster through that to smooth that suspension out. That might be the key for that rider. I see now that he's starting to pick the speed back up. He's taken over 2nd from Bloss. Bloss is trying to take it back from him. That's what we're seeing. But it looked like, I swear, I've been in situations where the slower you go, the rougher the racetrack is. And that might be exactly what Marquier has set up in his suspension.
Yeah, it is surprising when a guy catches and passes someone to take over 2nd, and then they start slowing up, and they nearly hand the spot back. See Bloss not giving up here through that sand wash, now over what we like to call the anthill, that big mound they build on the inside, help make both lines on that corner work. Look at the different lines you're taking, totally different, outside, inside, working the way up to lap traffic. You're watching Marquier on the 41 in the number 2 position. Bloss back in 3rd. Mosiman, who had the bell helmet's whole shot, back to 4th. Andy Koss 5th. Henry Miller, we mentioned him making up some time, and the riders in front of him on the number 30 is 6th.
You know, watching these lap times too, and the gaps between the positions as Lorenzo Lucercio, Marquier, and Bloss wrap up lap number 7. We look, an 8.5 second gap now goes to 9.6 second gap between first and second place, and it's still within about a second and a half between second and third. But the one thing that I've noticed this morning is those first place positions, man. We've seen so many of these guys, once they get out, and I don't know whether it's because they get the advantage on the start or what the case may be, but we're seeing riders check out with 10, 15, 20-second leads whenever they come across the finish line at the checkers.
Yeah, we have seen some dominance in these first motos. I think part of it is not all the contenders get the starts in those first motos because of those oddball gate picks, and you're really set up for the showdowns in Moto 2. And Moto 2 might be the most pivotal motos of all here, because you get into Moto 3, and then a lot of times riders are already set in a position. They don't maybe need to win the moto to win the title. So the first moto, you got to salvage something if you get the bad gate pick. Second moto, you got to go out there and win it. No excuses. No excuses right now, 83. Lorenzo Lucercio, who's just got it super dialed here. Lead of about 9 seconds.
Well, as we roll through this one, we are 7 laps deep now. Lucercio, Marquier, Bloss, Moseman, and Koss now your top 5. Henry Miller still holding steadily at 6th. He is now challenging Koss for the number 5 ride, so the 31 and the 30 battling out on the racetrack. It was 1/10 of a second whenever they came by the finish line a moment ago. Tanner Berry, who is hitched on with Henry Miller, running in that number 7 spot. Logan McConnell is 8th. Bradley Lionette is 9th. Talon LaFontaine rounds out your top 10, and it looks like Joachim Felden falling back to 11th. Maxwell Murphy in 12th. Taylor Holt in 13th. Daniel Mills the 25 and 14th. James Anderson the 15th, in 53 and 15th, I should say. The 71, Devin Culver 16th. Jaden Weisenberger is the 17th place ride. Elijah Rutter is 18th. 19th, Tyler Delaney. Gavin Wilkins rounds out your top 20 aboard the number 16. He's been holding steady right there since the drop of this gate, at least the end of lap number 1, Jason.
Folks that are watching us live at home on RacerTV.com, don't go anywhere. Right after this, we're going to have a Pro Sport Moto, and that might be the most stacked and possibly fastest one of the week. Of course, when you have essentially 4 A classes, you never know who's going to face off where. But we were watching in practice yesterday. This Open Pro Sport one will be good. Here is the 83. Lucercio, he just got it dialed. He had some pressure from Bloss on the first lap or two, and a good job of stepping up. Another thing we have to talk about, I'm sure there's even the potential for arm pump in these early motos, and I have to wonder, Bloss putting that charge on early, then losing a bit of ground, that might have been what happened. These first motos are tough. You don't get practice out here either. They ride on Monday, learned the track yesterday, and you got to go out and get a parade lap, and you just race today, so no chance to get the arm pump out in practice or anything like that.
And no way to blame the heat for anything this year either, because we have got perfect race conditions, I think. Temperatures in the upper 70s, lower 80s right now. Some spotty, partly big fluffy white clouds around the area, a light breeze that is blowing that is nice and cool, keeping it very comfortable. I mean, kind of sort of like what we saw last year, but I think it still feels as odd as it did last year to have these types of conditions in Tennessee this time of year.
Yeah, last year at least it had a big old storm blow through, and that's what cooled everything off. We had the storm to blame. This year it's just not hot. The temperature is just in the 80s all week. I don't remember ever having weather like this down here.
No, but the racing might heat things up all week long too as time goes on, because the 83 machine, again, 10.5 second lead at the end of lap number 8. He's gained about a second over the rest of the field lap after lap so far. As we look at the diversity in lap times, 2 minutes .027 for Lucercio, 2 minutes .982 for Chase Marquier. That was on lap number 8. Lap 9 at 2:02.819. So even Lucercio slowing down, but we see that he's dealing with some of those lap markers now and trying to get through some of the lap traffic. But with a now 10.5 second lead over Chase Marquier, I think that he can say that, you know, barring no major mistakes, he should be able, if he can keep this pace, take it on home to the checkers. We are getting closer and closer as lap 9 in the books, and lap 10 I'll be closing up here shortly.
Yeah, that's it. White flag is out, so he just got to try to hold on here in the 83. The MTF rider backed by Triangle Cycles. Triangle Cycles been putting riders up on top of this podium for a long time. You remember Brock Tickle came through with backing for Triangle Cycles back in the day. Lucercio trying to lock down a moto win here. And you can tell, I think he's backed it down just a little bit. Doesn't need to push with a 10.5 second lead. He went through that Yamaha mechanics area and got the pit board, I'm sure, telling him. Plus, he's got some lappers to deal with. Not going to be easy for him. So, yeah, I think you can see by the riding style, he's backed the pace down a little bit. Marquier up to second and pulling a little gap on Bloss, who is in third.
So a good opportunity for Lucercio to gauge himself in this racetrack, and he can get a pretty good idea what the competition and who the competition for Moto 2 are going to be. And I think that he knows as well as you and I have probably figured out that Chase Marquier could possibly be one of his biggest challenges whenever the gate drops in Moto 2 for this 450B limited class.
Yep, all about the starts and all about the gate picks in these first motos. As our man Wes Kane likes to say, hey! Well, he likes to say that, but he also likes to say, you got to be a junk man. Got to salvage something in these first motos if you don't get the pick, or if you have a bad crash, or just a bad start even with a good gate pick. This guy had it all dialed in, though. No troubles whatsoever for the 83. Lorenzo Lucercio takes the first moto of 450B Limited. He's pumped on that. He's going to head down to the podium, and unfortunately, he will have to talk to Kevin Kelly. I would not wish that upon my worst enemy, but oddly, that is Kevin Kelly. So that would mean I am then not wishing that he would interview himself. Imagine that. Try to wrap your head around that, everyone at home.
157.297, the fast lap of the moto, turned by Lorenzo Lucercio, who takes the win. His final lap of 201.524. Marquier checks in 13.5 seconds back in second. Benny Bloss will take the number 3 spot. Josh Moseman in fourth. Henry Miller, a good solid ride. That's going to be one I think to keep an eye on as well. The number 30, we saw him get stuck back there in traffic. He did get up as far as 5th, but he was running within tenths of second as fast as the fastest lap out there, turned by Lucercio. So he'll be one to watch in the coming motos. Andy Cost taking 6th. Tanner Berry in 7th. Logan McConnell was 8th. Well, should be 8th. We're still waiting on the 8th place position, and 9th and 10th place riders to check in. But it looks like Tanner Berry will take 7th. McConnell will take 8th aboard the number 11. Talon LaFontaine will be your 9th place position, and Bradley Lionette will round out the top 10. And just an FYI, still keeping it as the throttle twisted as much as he possibly could. I think one to watch in later motos. Let's keep an eye out for the number 30 of Henry Miller, who got stuck way back there in the pack. But right now it's Lucercio, Marquier, and Bloss ready to celebrate down near the podium, where Kevin Kelly stands by with our top finishers here of the 450B limited class.